I've become the person I used to hate. And that's a good thing. I had a great conversation with a man who's in the goo of his healing journey. What I mean by the goo is the stage in the butterfly analogy where transformation occurs. It's that crucial point when the caterpillar's cells break down to almost nothing before reforming into the structures of a butterfly. It's a powerful metaphor for transformation. While we could see it as destruction, that view is too simplistic. The awareness required for growth and rebirth is embedded in the message. This man is in that space, and I vividly remember being there myself. In this phase, thoughts, beliefs, and the core components of who we are begin to break down. We discover a self-reflection that is painful and hard to face. It's the goo. It's uncomfortable, but because we know this discomfort is part of our healing, we decide to stop resisting and gradually welcome it in, bit by bit, cell by cell. One of the hardest parts of this stage is the uncertainty. We don't know who we will become at the end of it because we've never met this version of ourselves. Our past selves, the before awareness versions, didn't know where they would end up either, but it probably wasn't here. In fact, the old me used to make fun of people like the person I'm becoming, but that old version of myself didn't have the tools or the awareness I have now. Sometimes I'd even think, I'm okay as a caterpillar. I don't need to change. But like that caterpillar, that's not who we're meant to stay as. Neither was that old version of me. We talked about how our past selves would view us now. Instead of stopping at, they'd hate me, we dove deeper. Why would the past version of me dislike me now? For me, happy, well-adjusted people used to piss me off because I assumed they thought they were better than me. Not because they actually did, but because I felt it and projected that insecurity onto them. It was my perfect excuse to belittle them. What I missed was that those who are truly happy and well-adjusted knew my condescension wasn't about them at all. They held boundaries for their happiness, while I was envious of what I didn't have: self-love, compassion, and belief in myself. People who lack those things often turn it into an insult, saying something like, they think they're so great. Ugh, I can feel that old resentment in my chest right now. But now, with more emotional understanding, I see that the anger and hatred I felt were, in fact, envy, shame, and regret. When others improved, whether emotionally, spiritually, or physically, the first thing I did was compare myself, and I always felt lacking. Did I recognize that as something I needed to work on? Nope. Instead, I turned it against them. Why? The answer becomes clear once you see the other side of the emotional puzzle. It's easier to blame someone else for our discomfort than to own it, understand it, and move through it. So, while we're in the goo, we sometimes get lost in trying to avoid the pain. But facing it is inevitable. The harder we push it away, the stronger it bounces back. It's physics on a cellular level. Acceptance of the goo, feeling all the discomfort, is a massive part of the journey we're on. I see the butterfly emerging as our emotions finally being understood and felt. But that's not the end of it. We emerge from the goo, ready to fly, but we're not quite there yet. We need time to get to know this new version of ourselves. We need to feel these newly discovered emotions, try to fly, and fail, while all reminding ourselves that this is new and we can't possibly get it right immediately. That's not how brains and bodies work. Just like the butterfly, we need time for our wings to adjust to the fresh air, the sun, and the new terrain. Crawling and clinging to survival is far different from allowing ourselves to be carried by the wind and creating our own path, feeling free to go wherever we choose. Yep, past me would think new me was a complete and utter kook. I accept that because I didn't know better and couldn't do better. The old me would have been jealous and bitter. Most importantly, I don't hold that against myself. That would be hypocritical. What I've learned is that this kind of happiness and outlook is often forged through deep pain. It's like seeing the darkest parts of ourselves and still choosing to love. And that's a big damn deal. While he's still in the goo, his vision is blurred, and the vulnerability feels excruciating. But I can already see him as the fully realized version of himself, the one his past self would have thought, what an asshole. Both of us now know just how far from reality those perceptions once were. We're making space for the next version of him, whoever that might be. And I know when the time comes, he will be magnificent.